So get back into that session. I still got a bunch of things I wanted to talk about, so I'll try and fly through them as quickly as I can. But again, if you guys have any questions, as I say something, just raise your hand and get into it. The group processing on this kick drum that I was designing before really helped glue these two kicks together in this track, and I think I'm going to be using that a lot more. It was nice to set it up, something that I knew was going to glue some sounds like that, like this kind of thing, and then flick between various samples. Which you can do as easy as if I'm browsing for that sample there. There's a bunch of kicks. I can load in that one there, and just be flicking through things and trying them out. You can also undo and go back. Where's our original one? There it is. And again, going through the tag sounds in there as well. This is makes it so much quicker and easier for me when I'm doing drum stuff, and especially if I got a couple of sounds which I know that kick works in the club, that kick works in the club. I know because I've used it. I can base stuff off that, and again helps with the whole working on headphones thing because you got a little bit of a reference point of where you're starting from. Then dialing them in too with. Let me load this one up. I was just mentioning before to the guys. Where's the sound that uses it? Here we go. There's a great emulation in Maschine. So we're talking about tape emulation plugins and stuff, which I want to show you one I really like. And there's a great emulation in Maschine for drums where you can emulate the old classic Akai MP60 and the SL1200 as well. SP1200, sorry. And you simply just go to the first menu page, and over here it's got engine. You can either have standard, MPC60, which gives a kind of resonant sort of punch and attack to it. And 1200, kind of soften, sort of lo-fi sort of sound. But as soon as you start pitching it up and down, it massively changes it. Hear the aliasing in there? Especially on things like toms. Where's the tom? That one's on MPC60 right now. Put on normal. It just lost all its vibe. There's that grit and the hiss and everything. Let's go 1200. And then we start pitching it. Get some really cool sounds out of doing this sort of stuff. And it also, if you play it, let me pitch that back. If you have your sequence running with your drums and everything, and you simply, once you've written it all, then go and start picking, I want that sound to be 60, I want that sound to be 1200. It really changes the transient punch and sort of the position in the depth of the mix, and suddenly your snare pops forward just the way you wanted it, or the kick just sits there in the low end, or it glues with the bass the way you wanted it to, whereas it didn't before. And it's this one little turn of a knob, no EQ, compression, anything. It's all about doing things fast all the time. So I spent way too long before on projects where I find a kick drum and EQ it for a whole day, trying to make it work. Just find another kick drum, really. That's what I learned, There's thousands of kick drums, there will be one that's the right kick drum. And once you've got it and you're trying to make them all sit together, try that little thing of just that one adjustment of flicking between the 60 and the 1200. Suddenly everything just turns into this magic glue. It's amazing. What else have I got on there on that drum once? Oh yeah, I really like also once you've set things like 1200 and 60. You can do this on battery and other things too, but it's nice again, like I said, you can just flick across to the next page and you've got pitch, start point, type of filter, ADSR filters and things for shaping them. Then compression. Just one knob, basic compression, but sometimes that's just amazing, just to dial in a little bit. Distortion, filters, sample rate, all that sort of stuff. I think the reason I like it so much is because it's so accessible, I use it. Whereas if I was in drum racks or in other programs and I had to keep loading a plugin or something and open windows to adjust those things, I can't be bothered. I'll be like, just write it, and it ends up staying like boring, stale MIDI kind of sound. But because it's so accessible and quick, I end up shaping my drums way more using this thing. You want to get in there and you want to turn the knobs because it's fast and it's fun. It's a definite plus for why I like to start programming stuff on Maschine at the beginning. And tagging drum sounds, like I said, to find the ones you want. Okay, stabs. This is fun. I was finding a couple of stabs for this track. And, stabs are sampled from all different tracks or made, and they all sound totally different in frequency. But you'll notice these ones are all kind of sitting in the same range, just because they're running through some group processing. If I take off that, got a guitar rig on there. Hear how weak they sound and different to each other. Put that back on. So I knew I wanted some stabs, and they're probably going to sit in that range, so I can design my guitar rig, which I think was just something I'd used from another song, and pipe a whole bunch of stabs through and flick through, browse through different stabs. Like I could take that one and look for, where's one I can sound. There we go, so it's pulling up the sound. I can flick to other ones. I'll flick through on pre here. I don't think it previews them through the plugin on pre here though, but this way you can try out a bunch of different stabs real quick, and they're all running through the same thing. You know they're going to sit in the same range, and you can start to work out a pattern between them. And you can start building something. It sounds like it's all one instrument. The same thing can be used for drums too, for kits. Like sometimes we use it on a percussion group. Usually not with a kick drum, but just for gluing the percussion of the drums together. This applies to things like Ableton Logic, Pro Tools, just bussing everything to one group and processing with like an overall subtle distortion. With that one, I used... That guitar rig is, again, Bass Pro. Bass Pro is one of the cleanest amps in there. Quick couple of tips on guitar rig. Every time it loads, for some reason it loads in mono. That must be a string section thing. I don't know. But you need to click on the R there to make it stereo, so it'll open up. And some of the plugins, you might need to open the window here and click stereo on it as well. Otherwise, everything's going to run in mono. This guy is the business. This is Guitar Rig 5, and Vintage Verb is just amazing. Oh my God. I use this a lot. It's just basically a wet and dry, and you've got a choice of about 8 reverbs. I think they're all springs and plates, which are kind of some of the best. So you got gold, short and long, silver, short and long, some studio springs. And just something about them, I've got all these expensive reverb plugins, but these ones just sit in the mix so well. And the job's just done in 2 seconds. That and the tape echo again, which is always a classic when I worked on the real one in the studio. So I pulled that back out for the same reason. And sometimes, I pull up 10 different reverb impulse responses and fancy things and trying to get some sound. And then you just load up a tape echo and set up a little slap delay and reverb, and you're like, well, it's amazing. Like, I guess some things just never die. And combination of those things together, some nice sort of vintage sounding spaces. I think that filter's just rolling off some low end there, and it does have a bit of color to it as well, which is nice. Their model of the 160 in here is really good. It really just glues things together. It's amazing. I'm really impressed with that. I already had the Waves models of stuff, so I wasn't really worried about it, but then I tried it out, and I'm like, I'm going to use this a lot. Down at the end of this chain is a Maschine tip. I guess you can use this in a lot of programs. So there's a plugin called LFO Tool. For anybody doing side chaining and stuff in a program where you can't side chain like Maschine, this has probably been the most useful thing for me. You can essentially just draw in a curve of the volume response, like what you wanted the compressor to do, so you can draw in exactly what you need. Even in programs like Ableton where you can do proper side chaining, sometimes I'll still use this because I want a specific kind of curve that I just can't pull off with a compressor. So it's still very handy for that, a good one to keep in mind. It runs the whole time though, it doesn't stop when the kick stops, so you've got to automate things if you need that to happen, but still handy. What was I going to say here? Sidechain. Oh, automation. This is fun. For the build-ups and stuff, I was talking about the scenes before. I've got things here like breakdowns to where the vocal comes in. I got one here where it's the drum roll, like the build up into the main thing. And there's a whole bunch of automation on this guy. Let's find some. What did I put it on? This one's got a bunch. There we go. You can see some of it in the end there, feedback automation and stuff. I pretty much made this whole pattern out of just taking a 1-bar drum roll kind of thing, of essentially that. And you just press pattern and duplicate it until it turns into 16 bars, the length you need. And then I just sit there and automate each sound so they grow over time. You know, just load up, like this one's got a meta verb, which is a really fun live reverb, beat delay, saturator. And over time, it, you know, things wash out, filter out and whatnot. And you can record them in so quickly with this thing. It's amazing. Like I can have, say that sound there. If I just solo this and we'll do something new on it. To record any automation in, you just hold down the automation knob, or you can lock that in place as well, I think with shift and as well. And then you just turn everything in, comes up on the screen. You can easily erase it afterwards too. So you get that whole live feeling of just as if you were playing the synth in. So I wasn't doing it. You go back and do a reverb one. And then you can even do stuff on the actual sound, like pitching stuff. You can get some really cool sound design stuff going on doing that. It's actually something I use quite a bit for when I'm trying to make crazy sound effects for tracks, because it just does my head in, because how long it can take if you're sitting there with a mouse doing it. But if you just give me a couple of samples and some plugins and just do stupid things automating it, then it's actually fun. You know, sometimes I'll just load up Ableton, have a channel recording audio, like Machine's on one channel and it's sending down into the next channel as a live input. Just hit record and I'll just jam stuff and play as many things, and sometimes loop something so I can keep getting it more and more complicated. You come up with some of the most crazy sound effects and things, and that you wouldn't be bothered to normally make because they're not as fun and fast. And then I'll just cut that audio up quickly into the pieces I need. I'll show you in Track of Mine Make Me Forget. It's full of that stuff, and there's some cool little sounds in there, and I'll pull out the audio where it's got all the how I made it, the wackiness that it happened. Arranging wise, this thing with the scenes, you can actually extend all of these out and make them into full length and try and write a whole song. But I don't know. I think it's better to once you get to the point where you've got roughly the different sections you want to work with, I think you're better off just bouncing them out and throwing them in Ableton or Logic or Pro Tools or whatever you work on, and then start mixing it down from there. And to do that, you just generally just go to each. You can either go to each group and go export audio, and it will export all the sounds. There's only 2 sounds in that one. Where's one with a bunch? Here we go. You see it pulls them all up there. And it exports all the audio out for you, or you can simply drag and drop them as well if it's just a quick thing. Sometimes once I've got all the track in Ableton, it's almost done, I'll have a last minute change of mind. I want to write a few new bits and I'll sync up. See, I've just dragged that bit there. That'll actually drag as a piece of audio onto, I could drag that into there right now or something. And there's that file. You can even drag them straight out of here into Traktor's remix decks as well. So you can make patches on here and quickly just drag stuff into Traktor's remix decks, go and play them at the show. But yeah, sometimes I want to write something quickly at the end, and I'll just sync a Machine up with Ableton and play some stuff in. That's cool. I'll just drag and drop those extra new percussion layers in. Like you just needed a tambourine or something simple, and then you're done. Or a snare roll. It's just quicker to do it on this. Oh yeah, I was going to show you that sketch on here. This track I wrote. You guys don't have a 1/4 inch. I can play. I guess I can just play it over the speaker. You'll hear it. So I've got iMachine on here too on my phone, which is an iPhone app version of this, which lets you lay down sketches of tracks. I always wanted something on my iPhone that I could write stuff with, and there was a few options, but something would be better if I could then pull it into my actual computer and finish it later. Otherwise, if I had to like export tracks one at a time or something, or MIDI files, it's a pain. I'm not going to bother using it. But this actually, you can save the file through iTunes, and you can open it up on here, and it opens up exactly the same. And then you can finish it on here and Ableton or whatever. You can also put in your own samples on your phone as well, full quality wave AF samples. So I'll often sketch stuff when I'm on tour on this thing if I can't be bothered getting my computer out from the plane or something. So I've got this. It's almost a bit of K-pop there. Let me mute that lead out. There's the mixer. And there's like full keyboards and everything in there. So I can play in all the notes and everything, set up a loop, and I'll show you. I moved that idea, this track I'm working on, over to Maschine a little while ago and tidied it up a little. And it pulls across the samples. And you can even buy like more sample packs for the app from the App Store. So like before you even, I mean, like even if you can't be bothered loading it up, you can be on the go and getting new samples online, which is great. So there's the same piano MIDI with just a better piano sound. Go back to the screen. So far from mixed down, but I had an idea for a melody and I got the chance to put it down and I didn't lose it. And chucked it in here, got the next bits for it, turned them into better sounds, loaded into Ableton, and then turned into this. Contact strings there as well. I think contact pianos too. So there you go, like the transition from iPhone on the plane to getting something finished. It's nice to have that technology these days. Like, I think everyone should make use of it. It's there, you know.